Today is Wednesday, so that means we have our What Matters to Me speech. Today is Miss Coffta, who is from Sanford, Maine, and has been at Berwick for 13 years, so please help me in welcoming Miss Coffta.
"9 years, 4 months, 1 week, and 5 days ago. The date was June 20th, 2011. It was a Monday, and that date is significant in my life. The academic year just closed, and I was scheduled to attend a week-long professional development course in Belfast, Maine. I was about 8 weeks pregnant, and to describe how I was feeling as utterly ecstatic would have been an understatement. That was my first time visiting Belfast, and this picturesque mid-coast fishing community is located about 3 hours away. I checked into the hotel on a Sunday evening and got settled by stocking the drawer next to the bed. I was nesting, and that was where I put my snacks. I slept well and woke the next morning ready to begin classes, but something felt a little off. I explained it to myself as nerves and ate breakfast at the hotel before heading off to the conference. The workshop was a technology boot camp where I was going to learn all about the latest trends and newest forms of educational software. I made it through the first couple of classes, but by lunch I knew I just needed to get back to the hotel and lie down. I called my obstetrician, and she reassured me that everything was going to be fine and we would get together when I returned. Once back at the hotel, it started to get bad fast. At some point, I walked to the front desk, asked where the closest hospital was, and I drove myself to the emergency room at Waldo County General Hospital. My blood pressure was off the charts. I was alone, and I was sitting in a cold examination room, and I was trying to think of someone to call. I did not want to worry my husband, and I really didn't know what to do. I was 150 miles from home, and I was scared. After some time, the doctor came in, and we talked about how I was feeling, and she then ordered an abdominal ultrasound. During the exam, the mood was intense, and I could tell by the technician's facial expression that something was wrong, but she did not give me any indication of what she was seeing. As I was waiting for the report, my mind wandered all over the place. The doctor and radiologist finally returned. They said it was serious and I needed emergency surgery. By this time, it was about 7:30 in the evening, and I was discussing waiting until the next day for the operation. They said that was impossible. I had a ruptured ectopic pregnancy, and I was bleeding internally. This was horrifying, and I knew now I needed to call Brian, my husband. I lost my first pregnancy. That was the hardest summer of my life. I cried every day. Every day I tried to understand something that was beyond reason. Every day I tried to make sense of something that seemed to be so wrong. And every day I tried to find the motivation to keep going. That is a little how I felt this past summer, and not to the same degree, but I was mourning something lost, and it hurt, and it still feels so surreal. This is my story, and it has shaped me into who I am today, and it has left me firmly believing that if I was not in that place at that time and experienced that loss, I would not be where I am right this very second. It was as if I had to be completely broken so I could rebuild and be stronger and smarter and more resilient. And that is what I learned from my miscarriage. In the year that followed, I endured multiple rounds of fertility treatments, daily hormone injections, 6:45 a.m. appointments at Mass General for follicular monitoring, which meant I was getting up at 3:45 to catch the 5:15 C&J bus into South Station and then sprinting for the Red Line for one final IVF cycle with a donor egg. And by that time, we were applying for a second mortgage on the house. 6 years, 11 months, 3 weeks, and 6 days ago, the date was October 29th, 2013. It was a Tuesday, and that date is significant in my life. I was at Maine Medical Center in Portland, checking into the maternity ward to deliver a baby by a scheduled cesarean section. The excitement was stronger than any feeling of fear, and the sense of anticipation outweighed any sign of hesitation. I was prepped and lying on a gurney, then pushed into an operating room. I remember the coldness and was surprised by how many people were present. After what seemed like only a matter of minutes, I hear the doctor say, "It's a boy," and that was the best surprise of my life. During the pregnancy, my husband and I decided that we did not want to know the gender of the baby before the birth, and it made that moment forever extra special in my heart. It's a boy, and now I am really a mom. We spent a few days in the hospital. My room overlooked Hadlock Field, and I cannot remember if the Sea Dogs were playing, but I do remember thinking how nice it was to see the field all lit up at night. Once home, like many new moms, I learned what unconditional love is, and I learned what it was to be tired. So tired at times I could barely put a sentence together. I also learned to savor every moment. I would give almost anything for just one more day at that age, one more sniff of that new baby's smell, and one more gentle snuggle. 3 years, 4 months, and 5 days ago, the date was June 16th, 2017. It was a Friday, and that date is significant in my life. Ben was 3.5 years old, and on that day, we drove to Boston Children's Hospital for an open heart surgery to repair an atrial septal defect. Ben was born with his heart missing the upper wall that separates the two chambers. At a routine 18-month checkup, his pediatrician heard a slight murmur and referred us to a pediatric cardiologist. The appointment lasted for hours. After an electrocardiogram, an ultrasound of his chest, and an echocardiogram, the decision was made to buy some time. Although his heart was enlarged and working extra hard, the doctor wanted to give Ben a year to get a little bigger and to better be able to follow simple commands, like hold your breath during a chest x-ray or lie still for an IV. The day of the surgery was hectic. The morning case was more complicated and ended up running late. By this time, it was close to 6 p.m., and our surgery was just about to get started. I was able to go into the OR with Ben. Again, the cold room, monitors all around the walls. The lower half of his operating table was covered with equipment and instruments, and there were a lot of people dressed in scrubs, ready to get to work. The anesthesiologist let me hold him until he was fully sedated, and then he said I could kiss him. I kissed him through my mask, and I distinctly remember him telling me that it was okay to lift off my face covering, and he let me kiss him again. After surgery, Ben was in a cardiovascular intensive care unit for about 12 hours and then spent the next 2 days on a surgical care floor. He was discharged on a Monday, and I joked when friends asked what we did for the weekend, and I'd say, "Oh, just a little open heart surgery in Boston." In reality, it was terrifying, and I never left his side. Now, on that Monday, the nurses told us that members of the New England Patriots were visiting the hospital, and 6 players and a coach soon came in to see Ben. I will never forget the image of Ben on his bed with his PJs wide open, a 5-inch incision taped together down his tiny toddler chest, and 6 enormous professional football players singing "The Wheels on the Bus." I am from Buffalo, born a Bills fan, but on that day, I converted. The following summer, to celebrate his 1-year anniversary, we made a lemonade stand on our boat and went around to all the houses on Bonnie Beg Lake. Ben raised $1,000 for Boston Children's Hospital that day, and the money was used to buy items for the toy chest program. You see, in every examination room, there's a toy chest equipped so when children have chest tubes removed, you pick out a toy, or the first time you're able to get out of bed and walk down the hall, you get to pick out a toy. The toys represented singular acts of bravery or fortitude and was visible proof that you did something you did not think possible, and that's how we decided to give back. So what did I learn from that? Ben taught me to have strength and to have courage even when things get really scary. Ben taught me to never give up, even when things seem hopeless. And Ben taught me resilience and to start each new day fresh, no matter how bad things were the day before. So, what matters to me? Being Ben's mom. Thank you.